Hello there, folks. This is Founder Laerun from Fantasy Grounds College. I just had a little bit of time that I'm going to share with you guys for the sake of building encounters that are themed. And in this case, they'll be themed towards using an icy type environment. So I'm going to use various products, and I'll mention those at the beginning, at the end of the show. I'm not really trying to plug them, but I want to give them credit for creating such good stuff. Basically, all this material that I have is either from the DM's Guild, from Smiteworks, or from the official content that you can buy on the Fantasy Grounds store. Some of this stuff has been created inside of Fantasy Grounds, some of it outside, so it all depends on what products you're looking at or what you're interested in. So first off, I have this icy theme. This was created by Josh Watmo at Smiteworks. This is brand spanking new. I think he showcased this about a week ago. So right now, this is asking me to do the campaign setup. I've already have some things loaded, so I don't need to use that. Just so you're aware, I have some of Rob Tui's coding effects loaded here. I have the Ream of the Frostmaiden, both modules loaded for the player and the GM. I have a couple adventures a week titles here, Midwinter's Chill and Winter Flower. I have all the core books loaded. I have 2 map packs by Game Tile Warehouse. This is Chris McDermott, or we know him as Map Hatter. So he's got the Cutmere Shards and the Shard Roads. And then I have some miscellaneous books here from Rob Tui that I might use if I need to, build a character or something like that. And I'm going to click on the All button. And that will show all of the different buttons. And I am going to go to modules. I'm going to load a couple more things. So while this is loading, I wanted to say hello to Lady Shell and the college and anybody else that's listening. It is December 9th, 2020. Hopefully you're safe and you're not sick with COVID. Just kind of going through Fantasy Grounds right now. I'm going to build some basically themed encounters. So these encounters will be based in an icy region. I'm going to start all the way from scratch, including the concept of it and everything. So if you want to learn how to build an encounter or make your own, or add to or adjust for an encounter you already have, this might be helpful for that. I'm using the latest and greatest Fantasy Grounds Unity. This was just released a couple days ago. It's got all the latest updates, and I am hoping that you can use some of this information to help you. This is kind of me just sharing a little bit of my time. It's not really a tutorial per se, although you may learn a few things. I am going to stop and explain things when I can. This was not meant to necessarily teach anybody, but I'm pretty sure that some of this information will make its way into your learning and understanding of Fantasy Grounds. So without further ado, if that background noise gets too annoying, go ahead and say something in the chat. I have some background wind, like a snowstorm in the background. It should be fairly subtle, but it is there. And if it's too loud or too noisy, or if my voice isn't loud enough, to say something in the chat. I'm going to take a look at a module that was put out by Grim Press, and this one is to do with the Frostmaiden. It's themed after that. So I do a search for Frostmaiden, and this is Monster Loot, Icewinddale Ream of the Frostmaiden. So this was gifted to me recently. Thanks, Lady Shell. and I'm going to load that up and see what it comes with. So apparently this is some loot that you'll get from creatures. So if I go to that book, which is right here in the library, and I click on story or tables, this will give me an idea of how it really works. So if you want to look at this, how you're going to use this book is the explanation of it. So there's some harvesting stuff. There are different types of loot that can be found. It's not always necessarily treasure. Sometimes the items are not even tied to the characters or the NPCs. So these are things that might come up during your play. So there's some spells in here, different types of loot. Yeah, cool, it's got some good art in here. It's pretty well done. I like it. Let's see, let's look at some table. So if you are going after, let's say, the Ancient White Dragon, there is a table you can roll on that will output treasure based off of this. So that's pretty cool. So you could create parcels based off of the creatures, which is really neat. And these are the different aspects of this module. So it's more of a supplement or a add-on or whatever you want to call it. It will help enhance your games. And then I have another one from the DM's Guild. This is called the Icewinddale Primer. And this one looks pretty nice. It kind of gives you some ideas of how to create this. And this is, again, another Grim Press product. And looks like our friend Vex, he converted it. So it has some regions, factions, character chronicle, backgrounds, and some other reading. So Grim Press is part of the publishing on this. In character chronicles, you have your backgrounds, like a miner. So you have other things that can supplement your characters if they're from the region. That's pretty cool. And then, like I said, I got Rob2E's modules here, and these will be useful if you want to code your character or make them easier for you and your game master to play. These will help you automate some of the things that can be automated. Not everything can be, but in this case, you can use these pink modules here, purplish pink. So what I'm doing now is going ahead and finishing up my load here for different materials. I have the monster manual loaded. I think that's a pretty good base. But if you don't own the official products and you only have a license, you can load the SRD, which is a system reference document, and it comes with a monster manual type thing. It has a data module and then like a DM's module, which has like magic items. So it kind of gives you the real base of what everything's based on. So now I'm going to go through and click all, and what this does is it filters the things that are loaded. So I'm going to go through here, and I don't really need this gear loaded up, or the potions, or the armor, or rods, staffs, wands, rings. I don't really need that right now, so I'm going to unload those. So sometimes in Fantasy Grounds, not necessarily right now, but if you are hosting a game and you got a ton of material that you don't need, it's good to unload it. So like the DM's guide, probably won't need that, but I'll go ahead and leave that open. And then I'm going to get rid of these modules for right now. I don't need those. And this cold water module. So now I just have some maps, some rules, and some third-party content. So basically I shut down stuff I don't think I'm going to be using. Okay. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to close the library. So pretty much have a clean slate. I do have 4 characters ready to go. They are in the combat tracker. So I'm going to use these to test the encounters. So what you have here is Crudson. He is a goblin rogue. You have Groglor the Grotesque. He's like a warrior type. And then we have Morena Dragonjaw. It's kind of a feisty dwarven cleric. And then we have Zargath, or Zargaath. He's a Githyanki, or Githzere, excuse me, sorcerer. So you have a sorcerer, a cleric, a fighter, and a thief or a rogue. That's basically the composition of the party. So now I'm going to go and look at the Actions tab. Yep. So I want to make sure I'm on combat and actions for each character if they're complete. And recently implemented, if you don't know this yet, just like within a day or so, you now have the ability to switch primary or offhand or two-handed use without having to make an extra weapon or coding a different item. Now you can just select it here in the weapon area. So that was incorporated. So if you're using the weapon handling extension, you may want to be careful with that, because now in 5th edition, pretty much the properties of that plugin or that extension has already been incorporated. So I deleted all my extra weapons that I created to emulate that. So I no longer have, let's see, so I don't have any, duplicate weapons. So Groglor here, Crudson, Morena, and Zarga. So these are my characters that I'm going to use to test the encounters. So I made some notes earlier. And I was honestly looking at a white dragon. And I know that's a really tough encounter, but I was thinking about changing it, because there's one called Midwinter. That's the name of this dragon. But I don't want to necessarily use him because he's too powerful. He's like a, I don't know, really super powerful high XP type creature. So I was going to look at some other creatures, and I've kind of come down to some ones that are kind of iconic. They have, lots of function, and they work well in the setting. So I have the Ice Mephits. And then there's the Ice Troll, which in this case I'd probably only have one. This thing is a high challenge rating, it's CR 8. So I don't think I would throw any more than one of those. These little guys are CR half, so probably, 4 or 5 of those guys would be maximum. There's some Icewinddale kobolds that I might use for low level, but I was going to use those if I had the dragon as minions, so I may not use them now. And then I have a snow golem, which maybe 1 or 2 of these. So this is your picks of the encounters that we could potentially work off of. The other thing you want to consider, other than challenge rating and what they are, is also the fact that you'll probably want to customize these, and you'll want to put them on a battle map to see if it's very strategic or not. So hopefully you'll be able to check and see which ones you want to use before your session starts. In this case, I'm going to look at a map and see which ones I want to use. So I'm going to go to Images, and I want to look at the maps that I have loaded first before I have to go and make some. So there's the Cutmere Shard maps, and then there's the Shard Roads. So the Shard Roads have more civilization in it. The Cutmere ones are more out in the wilderness, so let's check that out. So this is a panel that allows me to select a graphic as like a preview. So I'm going to go through these real quick and see which one I might want to use. I'm thinking about this water one because it has some ice hazards in here, which I think is pretty cool. And then there's some floating water in here. And there's this ice castle thing too. I was like, huh. So I thought, well, that might be pretty cool actually. I'm going to try this ice castle. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up with a little pin. And here's the ice castle. Now this doesn't have line of sight built into it yet. It can, it's not too bad to do this one actually. But just for the sake of time and such, I'm going to first probably just add a grid and get that established first. So right now I'm trying to decide which type of creature is going to live in this home, and then I'm going to decide which type of bad guy, minions, and boss I have. So I'm thinking that the Mephits, maybe they control the snow golem, or maybe they know how to wake up the ice troll. So these guys are pretty clever. So maybe I'll do like 2 or 3 of those, and then one of these boss creatures. So I think that would be fun. And I don't think it would be too overpowered if I had 3 of these, and then one of these creatures, like the ice troll, maybe only 1, because it's powerful. The golems, maybe only 2. So that depends. So I'm gonna have like 2 or 3 Mephits, probably just 2. And then I'm gonna have a minion or a boss type thing. In this case, these guys are kind of like the bosses, but they're small and they're kind of pipsqueaks, but we'll see what happens. So I'd like to know if there's anyone out there, if you would like me to build any specific counter. It could be something different too. It doesn't have to be with the Mephits. So if you want me to build, you know, a white dragon encounter or use the kobolds, we can do that. Or we can just go with my original idea of having a couple Mephits and one of the stronger bad guys for like a final fight. And just because you have this encounter doesn't necessarily mean the characters have to fight it. So that is something you have to keep in mind. So let's see. First things first, I am going to put a layer on here, which is going to represent the mask that will present us the grid. So I'm going to unlock the map, and up on the top right I have all these different tools. Right now I'm in play mode, which is the mode you want to be in when you're playing. I'm going to switch over to the grid mode, which is all the way to the far right. And right now it's set to 50 by 50. So if I turn this on, roughly you have a 50 by 50 grid. So I'm going to try 60. Yep, I think 50 was the ticket. I don't know, we'll see. So I'm going to nudge this over to where 3 of these wide. So this bridge would be roughly 15 feet wide. So I'm going to nudge that over with these controls here. I'm going to unlock this now, which it already is. And this is locked now, so this layer cannot move. And now I'm going to take this and start plotting out what I want to do with the map. So the encounter is going to be a couple ice methods and either a snow golem or two, or maybe one ice troll. So that's probably a tough fight for these four. And I might even add another character just so the fight's a little bit easier for them. So what I'm going to do now is think about adding some effects and some line of sight. So this is something I would want to do before my session starts. So I'm in the grid mode again, and I'm going to actually push this up a little. There we go. So it's a little bit more centered. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a snow layer. So the snow layer will make a little bit a snow-like thing, or you can do a blizzard if you want. And blizzards are a little bit obnoxious. So I'm going to go ahead and add a layer. So I'm going to click on the effects layer down at the very bottom. And it makes a new blank effect layer. Now I'm going to click on effects and actually choose the one I want. So I'm choosing snow. And as you can see, it's snowing all over the place. So in order to get rid of that, I'm going to click on the enable mask, and then I'm going to click on reveal area, which is a tool. And I'm going to draw this whole square out to reveal the area of where I want the snow to be. And then there will be possibly some spots I may not want it, but for right now, this is the snowy area. So there's the snow. So I turn down the amount. You can turn up the intensity if you want. I don't want it too much. Turn the speed down a little bit so it's not so obnoxious. And the size. So now that's a little bit more doable. There we go. So this is basically how you would isolate the layer, is that you would add the layer, and when you're in the effects tool layer, you will be able to add a mask, and then you can hide or reveal certain spots. So if I wanted to go back and hide something where I didn't want the snow to show up in that area, I would just click on that, hold down the Alt key, and just draw in this area if I didn't want this area to have snow. Unfortunately, it's out in the open, so it's going to have snow. Now temporarily I'm going to shut off the snow. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and create a folder, and I'm going to rename it. I'm just going to call it effects, and I'm going to drag the snow into that effects folder. And as I add effects, it will stack up. So I might want to do some mist or maybe clouds. So I'll go ahead and add another effects layer. I'll use the drop down, and I'll use cloud. And clouds kind of gives it this dingy look. And you can see it's moving from left to right. You can add it, you can offset a little bit. Turn down the shadowing, because there's a shadow from the clouds. So I don't want it to be too dark. And then I thinned down the clouds so they're not covering up everything. And then the speed, I turn that down a little bit. Now it's going from right to left, or you can go left to right. All right, so this is in the outside of this folder. So I want to make sure the cloud layer is above the snow, which it is. And then I've turned it down a little bit so that it's not so, you know, crazy. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn the visibility off. That'll turn both of them off at the same time. So that's nice and handy when you want to start doing line of sight. Alright, so the next thing is I want to try to get some of this area lined out. It's not really any doors per se in here. Pretty much all open passages and walkways. So I'm going to create some line of sight here. I think what I'm going to do is these areas here, these actually go down in the basement. So these are going to be pits. And then these circles, I'm going to make an ellipse, and I'm going to just draw the circle out and use that as my starting point. So I will do the pits later. But I'm going to go ahead and do these tower, or the rooftops. So first thing is you want to go to the line of sight tool. And then you want to go to the ellipse. And then in this case, it's going to be a wall. Or it could be terrain. I mean, if you want to make it a terrain, you could. I'm just going to make it a wall because you can't really go through this. And it's very steep. So even if you just walk on this thing, it's not very forgiving. So what you want to do is kind of look in the center here and then draw out about halfway. So again, I'm in the ellipse mode and wall mode. So now I have this circle. Now if you want to move it, you need to go to the select mode, double click, and then you can move the whole circle. And that's basically how simple this is. Now I don't know if it'll let me duplicate that or not. No. That'd be nice if I can duplicate that, but that's okay. So now I'm just going to systematically go through and draw these ellipses. Oops. That looks more like an oval. I don't like it. Control Z. Okay, let's try it again. Hold down the shift key to make it more symmetrical. And then I hit the select tool, because if you don't, I'm going to draw another circle. And I double click and that will select all these different points. You have to double click on one of the points. And that's a little big, so I'll try it over here. There we go. It's pretty good. And I'm going to draw another circle. Alright, so there's that. And another circle. Again, switch. This is where people get messed up. You gotta switch between tools. Okay. By the way, I'm getting lucky on the size here. Alright, so circle mode, hold down control and drag until you get close to the size you want. Go to the select tool, double click, drag and drop. Same thing, last one. So this one, I'm not going to worry about that overhang too much, so I'll just kind of draw it as best I can. It's actually more of a diamond shape. So what I might do actually is, yeah, you know what, I think I'll just make it a circle. What the hell. Okay, go to the pointer tool, double click, there's the center. There we go. Voila. Okay, so now that I have that in place, now I'm going to put the pit. So the pits are in this area where the staircase is, but not the entire thing is a pit. It's only going to be this little wedge here. So I'm going to go to the pit tool, and I'm just going to go to the line tool, and then just freehand it. In order to freehand with Fantasy Grounds, you have to hold the Alt key and then just kind of trace it around inside here. So I'm going to follow this shadow basically. So if you want to go back and adjust, see how some of these are off a little bit? You can go back to the pointer mode. Click on a point that you want to edit. Simply move it. You don't have to be this accurate. I'm basically just practicing with the tool. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So line tool, pit, and draw by holding down the Alt key. Okay. And then again, I'm going to go and adjust these a little bit. Now I went to the pointer mode. If you don't, it's going to keep drawing. You don't want that. Alright, so there's the pit. And if you want to exit the tool, or you're worried about drawing again, just hit escape. Or when you finish a line, you double click in the square that you're working in. That way it will release the tool so it's not continuously drawing. Okay, so the next thing is the actual line of sight. So we got some of it done. So the best way to do this, since these are thick walls, is to actually just trace these walls. If they were thinner, I would just draw a line in the center. But in this case they're not, so they're covered with snow on top of that. So I'm just going to draw the thickness of the actual drawing here. It's kind of hard to do this because of the snow, but I'm going to do the best I can. So I'm in the line tool and wall mode, and I want this to connect to this wall here. So I'm going to click on this line and just plot points. Normally we'd just make walls like straight lines, but this is snow covered. So then if you want to move any point, you go into selection mode, and you can move these points around. So in this case, you don't have to be perfect, but that's pretty close. I mean, you're getting basically what you want. So that's basically the effort that goes into doing line of sight. There's other things you can add, but for the most part, that is what it takes. If you wanted to add shadows, you could put another layer and change the time of day, and then you would have a little darker areas inside. So it depends on where the direction of the sun and all that kind of stuff. You can add props. If you wanted to add like a statue out here or something, you could do that. So that's that. So now what I want to do is start to work on the encounters. So this is just the map that I'm going to use. And I'm going to bookmark this. So I don't want to lose the map right away. And there it is, expanded. And that's that. Alright, so I'm not going to finish the line of sight. That's not the focus of the video, but it gives you an idea of what you have to go through. Now the next thing is the ice method. So I'm going to open up the NPC stat block, which I already have up here. And I am going to open up encounter. And what I want to do is create a random encounter as opposed to a planned encounter. It's really actually going to be planned. It's just that the way that this is going to work is going to be a little bit more conducive to having more than one person play through this module or through this scenario. So I'm going to hit random, and I'm in the encounters area. So it'd be a new group. So I'm going to edit the groups up here on the top right. Click this plus button, and it creates a new group. I'm going to call it Icy Encounters. Now I get out of the actual edit mode, and I'm going to select this as my encounter. So now I'm going to click the edit button, or you can right click and create an item. And this is a blank. So I'm going to call this Castle Creatures. Ice Castle Creatures. So it forms a new entry up here. I'm going to drag the ice method over. And then I'm going to drag over one of the two minions. I honestly think the ice troll is a little much. So I'm going to add the snow golem. For a party of 4 at level 3, I think that's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is make sure that this only says 1. So that no matter what, there's only going to be 1. On the methods, however, I am going to go the number of PCs minus 1. So this formula I'm going to do pertains to the party sheet. So these players have to be on the party sheet for this to work. It doesn't go by the combat tracker. It looks at who's on the sheet. So now I'm going to put $, PC. So that's a $, capital PC. This means the number of PCs on the party sheet. And now I'm going to go -1. It is good that I have this so I can show you how this is going to be utilized. So now what happens is I'm going to lock this, is when you use this encounter over and over and over, it'll kind of scale itself based on the size of your party. So if you have 6 people, this will give you 4 or 5 mephits, and then you only get 1 golem. So you could also do that for the golem. Say if there was 6 characters here, I might say 2 golems. So you might say something like a fraction. You put a fraction in there. So like the number of PCs times 0.3 or whatever, or 0.2. So that means for every PC you would add another, or for every 4 or 5 PCs it would add another golem. So you could change the formula around. So that's basically what would happen. And then I don't like the tokens, they're too vague. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my assets library. Right now this actually defaults to tokens. So I'm going to go to the data folder, which is where I store most of my tokens. And then I'm going to go to Bernardo Hasselman's tokens. This is a token maker that I really appreciate, and I support him on Patreon. Does some really good work. So there's some mephits in here. So elemental. And then if you want to, there isn't really a snow golem, but you could use this here, this crystal golem here, which would look like a snow golem, sort of. Let me see what else we have. I have some custom one that he built for my winter world. Winter world. Okay, so this kind of has a snow troll. It has an ice golem right here and an ice giant. So I'll just use the ice golem. That's pretty close to what I want. So to replace this, instead of doing it on the actual stat block up here, I'm just going to do it at the encounter level. That way you don't have to change the base. So I have to unlock that. And there's the ice golem. And now for the little, let's see, where are those little guys at? There we go, ice pixie, ice mephit. Alright, so there's the token. So now what I'm going to do is I will pin this encounter. Of course, I'm going to lock it again. I'm going to pin this just like right in the center. And this thing here, when I share this with the party members, they won't be able to see that pin. And then I'm going to recenter the map, put the party members on this sheet so that I can test things out. So you can actually drag them all at once. Instead of dragging one at a time, you can actually take the friendlies, which is these little icons down at the bottom of the combat tracker, and that puts the tokens on the map. So these guys are on the battle map, and when they reach this area, that tells me I want to run this encounter. So I open up this encounter, click generate, and there's my encounter. So I have 3 mephits, which is right, there's 1 less than there are characters, and then a snow golem. So now I hit this down arrow, or I can place these things before the adventure starts. But if you run this as the adventure is going, you have to basically put them in the combat tracker first, which I'll do. I use this down arrow. So now what I'm going to do is drag these individual tokens where I want them to appear as this encounter unfolds. So I'm going to put the Golem back up in here. So his token will be up here. So there's the Golem. And then the others. I put one guy up here. One over there. And one up there. So they're all kind of hiding up a little bit higher than the level of the courtyard. So if you walk through this gate, there's a gatehouse here. You come into this area, there's going to be a method, and then there's staircases leading up to these areas. So I guess this is a door here. So if I wanted to, I could put a door here. But that's, or it just could be a wall. Depends on what you need it for. So let's see. Now that I have that set up, now this is ready to run basically. I could roll initiative. So if I go to menu, go to initiative, and roll PC initiatives. Let's see what happens. Or I can roll the NPCs, or I can roll for everybody. I'm going to roll for everybody. So fortunately, the party members go first. They may not even be aware of what's going on. So to activate the line of sight, or the effects, I need to go back into and unlock this map. And I'm in play mode, which is good, but I want to turn on the visibility of the effects. So now we got the snow going. And this is the line of sight layer, by the way. So I'm going to lock that for now, so it doesn't get moved or anything. So there's our encounter. So Groglor, being that he's a warrior, he's going to move into the courtyard. So if I bring up his sheet, more than likely he can move 30. So yes, that's right. So to unlock this map, you use the lock up here, but I want to relock it and I'm going to recenter it. Now I want to right click on the map so I can lock the tokens. So to do that, you right click on the map anywhere, except don't click on the token, actually click somewhere else. You can click anywhere but on a token and hit lock token. So now what happens is this will emulate the movement of a character on the map as the game master. So if I pick this up, it's just going to move. It's not going to do anything. But if I hit the Alt key, it will create this line, which I can approve. So to keep track of movement and where people are, you can set that up. The other thing is there's some options for movement as well. So if I go down to the bottom where it says house rule, where it says diagonal distance standard, I'm going to put it on variant because I want it to count the diagonal movement as 10 feet every other square. So now that it's actually Groglor's turn. So I'm going to move his token. I'm going to hold down the control key when I move him, or excuse me, Alt. So once he's gone the place that he's going to go, I go ahead and let him bring that up, and he'll be right on the square. He told me that he's kind of getting a bad feeling. The player did. So he's going to take out his javelin and kind of heft it on his shoulder and be prepared. So what he wants to do is a help action. So I'm going to click on the help action, or excuse me, the ready action. And he says that if anybody comes in sight that looks hostile, he's going to try to throw the javelin at him. So if anyone approaches him from anywhere in this keep, he's going to throw the javelin at him. So that's his readied action. If it doesn't occur by the time it's his turn, then it expires. So now I'm going to skip the turn and go to Zargath. So if I double click on his token, it brings up his sheet. And he has some supplies and he has things that he wants to do, sorcery points. So I think what he's going to do is, I think he's going to do Mage Armor on himself to protect himself. So he's preparing for a battle. So this is a first level spell. So I'm going to check off one of his slots. And I'm going to drag the Mage Armor to him. So you can do it here or in the combat tracker. So that adds an extra 3 to his armor class. And it does it mathematically. So it doesn't change this armor class here, it just does it mathematically. So that's his turn. And he's going to move down here. So again, to emulate the movement, hold the Alt key. And that's his turn. So now I hit the down arrow. Credson is going to move. He said he's going to dash, so he's going to run. So he can move double his movement rate. So he can move 60 feet. And it's a bonus action, too. So he is going to do his cunning action. Actually, you can't. You can't dash. Yeah, you can. So he's going to dash. So that's just an effect that just tells him that he's doing that. Doesn't change anything. And I'm going to move 60 feet. And then if he wants another to perform an action, he can, because it's a bonus action. So what I think he'll do is take out one of his weapons and hide or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and have him run through here. Now he's not being quiet, so if he was, he couldn't run. So he's going to hurry his little butt in here. So he books it inside. So that's his turn. And then he's going to take out his bow. I guess that's what he's getting ready to do. So that's his turn. And he's hiding. So let me put that on. So he has his hide action. And I'm going to roll his stealth roll. So he has an ability here. Our skill is stealth, so I'm going to roll that in the dice tower. Wow, he rolled a 1, so he made a bunch of racket. So that didn't go too well. Okay, Morena is going to move closer. She can only move 25 feet because she's a dwarf. So she's moving to the head of the bridge. If I double click on her sheet, it'll bring up her actual abilities. I think what she's going to do is, first of all, she has Dwarven Resilience, so I'm going to turn that on. That is a passive ability. And I think she wants to cast a Bless spell. So she's going to bless anyone in this area. So that would be her and 2 others. So this effect is Bless Self. And that goes to her. Yep. And then the other button is for others. So I'm going to drag this effect to all 3 of them. So this is just the concentration effect. The second button is the actual coding and the syntax. So she's just going to do these 3. Credzen's too far away. He took off too quick. So she's going to go ahead and cast Bless. First level slot. To make this quicker, you could easily target all 3 of these people by holding down the control key and then applying the effect. I just did it the longer way so you can see the effect. Okay, so now they have that effect on them. So now I hit the down arrow. Snow Golem. So to bring up his stat block, he has a passive perception of 8. Well, our little buddy there rolled an 8. So he heard the method, or he heard Crud. He can move, I think, 30 feet. Oh, 10 feet. He's very slow. So there's basically where he's standing. And then I'm going to hold the Alt key. And then I'm going to approve it. So he comes lumbering down these stairs. I'm going to have him make a dexterity check to make sure as he's going down on his next turn. And he just happens to be kind of lumbering down towards the gatehouse. Little Mephit goes hee 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 hee. So he makes himself visible. So I'm going to unmask his visibility, and he's going to fly towards the gatehouse. Hold down the Alt key. He can fly or walk 3 feet. So he's going to glide through here. And then I'll approve it. So he stops there. Now I want to see if he notices Credzen or not. He knows someone's there, but he doesn't know where. So his passive perception is 12, so yeah, he knew he was there. So he's going to basically cast a fog cloud. So this is a once per day thing, so he's going to cloud this area up. So on the stat block is the fog cloud. So the effect is for the cloud for 1 hour. It is concentration, so I put it on him. And now the fog cloud itself is basically 120 feet, but it's a 20-foot radius sphere. So if I right click on the map and I change the pointers to a circle, and that's where he's casted it. So this changes a lot of things. It will basically cause disadvantage and things like that. So if you read it, it says you create the sphere, it spreads around corners, everything's heavily obscured. It lasts until a moderate wind comes by to disperse it. So, heavily obscured means -5 on a lot of missile attacks and stuff. And checks and things are going to be harder to do. So that was his first move, pretty diabolic. And this other golem is going to fly up and over this wall. So that's going to take him at least 10 feet. So he's really only going to be flying up and over here, because he has to go over the wall. So I'm going to count for that. So he can only move really roughly 10-15 feet. So that's his flying speed. So he's floating above this wall a few feet. And he's looking around, see if he can see anything. You can't see Kredzen because he's actually down below. So he's flying in this direction where he sees the fog cloud. And he's going to change his appearance to look like an icicle. So he's probably try to fly over here and park somewhere to look like an icicle. This next one, he is going to do the same thing. He's going to fly up and over. So he's up and over the wall. He sees the fog cloud, and he's also going to change his appearance into like a icicle, so that when anyone else comes in the area, they can ambush him. So that's his turn. So they just have to remain motionless. So they look like shards of ice. So now I'm back to Graglor. He notices this fog cloud, so he backs up 5 feet, and he calls out to Kredzen, and he says, "Kredzen!" So he has javelin, and the last location he saw this creature, he's throwing the javelin in this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and target, and I'm going to do that by holding the control key. So I click on my token, and then I'm going to click over and hold the control key and click on the ice method. Again, first click on your token. Make sure it's highlighted. Then hold down the control key and click on your target. And this will show it's 30 feet. However, everything's heavily obscured, so it's going to be -5. So the modifier on the bottom left. And I'm going to have him do his roll for the javelin in a thrown condition. And he still hit, even with that -5. So that bless that happened earlier really helped. So that javelin goes soaring through the cloud, doesn't even quite know where the guy is, but had a pretty good idea right before the cloud went up. And he's going to go ahead and use this damage now. Wow. So the fog cloud expired because the creature was damaged. It lost its concentration. So this fog cloud comes down. So I right click, and I'm just going to remove this pointer. And then for the actual creature, where his effect was, it's no longer on there. It was canceled. So that cleared the way. So with that success, he's going to do his action surge, which gives him another action. So action surge, fighting style archery. Weird. Okay, so the action surge just gives him another ability to basically take another turn. So he just used it. I just clicked it off his sheet. He's going to use this advantage right now. So this time he won't have this +5 or -5 penalty. And I'm going to go ahead and double click again to throw another javelin. And he hit again. And this time it does. Wow, 6 points of damage. So this creature is already heavily damaged. If you look at its icon here, it says heavy. So he's really messing this thing up. So that was his turn. He moved back, but now he's going to move forward. Alright, so that's his turn. He's moved, he did his bonus action, he did an action, he's done. So I'm going to go through this in my own time and kind of play this out and see how this works. This is the best way to test encounter. It's very time consuming and it might take you a while to build it, but I guarantee you that it'll be fun and you'll have a better understanding of how this is going to potentially play out. So that's how I built the encounter. I kind of took the number of PCs, they're all 3rd level. I took the CR levels of the creatures and kind of estimated, nothing real scientific. And they're already doing pretty good by luck. So I want to see what Crudson can do before we leave. So Crudson's hiding here. This guy knew he was there, but now that this guy is fighting with him, he's distracted, but he still doesn't qualify for a sneak attack. So he's just going to make a regular attack. So again, I'm clicking to highlight my token. Then I'm going to hold down the control key and click on the ice method. So he's only 15 feet away. So on Crudson's actions tab, he has the short bow. So I'm going to double click on the attack roll since this guy is target. And he was able to hit. And the damage. Wow. So this creature's dying now. Crudson finished him off. And it looks like the creature has a death burst. So whenever it dies, it explodes. Each creature within 5 feet has to make a saving throw. Well, nobody's in 5 feet, so it just kind of blows up around here, and it kind of shocks these two, like, what the hell was that? So now they know to be careful not to get close to it. So they know not to be right next to them. So they shout to their companions, be careful of the flying ice creatures. They blow up when you destroy them, or something like that. So that's basically how that works. And then the ice method that has died is going to have a little action here where it says it's unconscious. It's not going to be revitalized or anything. So I'm going to double click and delete it. That way it's not causing me issues in the combat tracker. I hit the down arrow. Now it's Morena's turn. What happened to Zargath? I think we skipped him. So Zargath is going to move up a little closer. And I'm going to hit the control key. Actually, I hit the alt key. Okay, so he's here in the square. And Crudson here is going to use, let's see, he has Witch Bolt, Sleep, Misty Step, Shadow Blade, and I think he's going to hold his action. So if anyone shows up or attacks, he is going to use his Firebolt cantrip. So he is going to ready an action. And he's preparing, if anyone comes in view that looks hostile, he's going to shoot him with the Firebolt. So that's his turn. So Crudson already went. Morena is going to move. So she moves a little closer. And she's kind of looking around to see what's going on. So just because she doesn't really have a clear shot or anything of knowing what's going on. So she's going to, I would say, she's going to hold her action as well. So she's got the ready action. And if anything comes in view that's hostile, she's going to shoot him with her crossbow. So that's her turn, basically. So that's that. Snow Golem moves down 10 feet. I'm going to make a dexterity check and see if he makes it down the stairs, because he kind of comes lumbering down. And he hits the bottom of the landing, but I want to see his dex 6. Wow, he could easily fall. So he's gonna have to make a check. All he has to do is roll above a 5 or whatever, and that should do it. Wow, he rolled a 4. So he falls down rather than, just coming out and walking down the stairs. So he falls down the stairs, tumbles down, gets all chipped up. So he takes, I'm just going to manually add this. He takes, let's see, he's going to do 1d8 or 1d6. So he takes a point of damage because of that fall. So he has one little minor wound, and he's prone. So he's fallen down and he has to get up. So I'm going to go to the effects area or the conditions, and that's up here in the upper right. And the effects are here. So he's prone. So I drag and drop that onto him as the prone condition. So that's his turn. So this method is flying over the top now. Okay, he stops right here above Crudson. Now he's probably about 15 feet up in the air from Crudson's head. So he's going to look down. He sees Crudson down there hiding, but I want to make sure he's noticed Crudson. He heard him come into the place. He knows something's there, but does he actually notice Crudson since he's kind of hidden? So we'll find out. So this guy is going to roll a perception check, and it is 12. So actually, yes, he did notice Crudson. So he is going to attack Crudson with a Frost Breath. So he shoots his cone of cold down on Crudson. Crudson saves. And he took a little bit of frost damage there. So that kind of hurt. So Crudson got basically covered with snow and ice. Now the others that had their ready actions can take their actions too. So Zargath was going to do a firebolt. So he shoots at the Mephit. So I'm going to hold down the first click on Crudson or Zargath's token and then target this Mephit. And he's telling Groglor, look out, I'm going to be casting the spell. And I'm going to bring up his sheet. And this is a spell in which you have to actually hurl it or cast it. It's a ranged attack. And you can see the Mephit, so he should be okay there. So he hit. And now the fire damage. Wow. So he blasted him with that thing. And then the Groglor gets to have his ready action. So he's going to throw his last javelin. So again, I'm going to click on him, and then I'm going to hold control and click on my target. And I'm going to bring up Groglor's sheet. And I'm going to double click on his javelin, the throne. And he connects. Wow. So this creature's dead. It blows up, and Crudson is going to have to make a saving throw. So he just basically died right above him. And he blows up. I don't think he's quite in the range because he's above him. So I'm going to say that Crudson, partially the wall blocked him, and he wasn't quite close enough because this guy was flying up in the air. So Crudson's fine. So the Golem is dead. So that would be the second one that's taken care of. But this Groglor doesn't have any more javelins. So now it's Ice Mephit number 3. So he's going to come out of hiding, seeing that his buddies are dying. And he's going to make an attack. So he moves into position. He has Frost Breath, and he has a Fog Cloud. I think he's going to do his Frost Breath. So everyone in this cone, which I need to draw. So I got a pointer, cone. So he basically can get these two. So they're going to have to make a saving throw. So again, I clicked on the Mephit, and then I'm going to hold down the control key. And I target those two. Then I initiate the saving throw. And there was a success and a fail. So hopefully it'll take the first one. Yep. So that was minor wounds to both of the characters there. I might have fudged that because I had 2 rolls here. But nonetheless, they didn't take much damage. And the Ice Mephit got his way. And now I'm going to right click on the pointers and remove it. So now it's Groglor's turn. So Groglor is going to move into melee range. So I just moved Groglor over. He's switching his weapons. He's going to get out his Great Axe. And it's a 2-handed weapon. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this attack roll. Oops. Let's see. Okay, he's visible now. So I'm going to take the Great Axe. That was a good hit. He just rolled an 18 plus 1 from the blast that he got. And now he's going to roll damage. Wow. I didn't drag it onto the target. Whoa. So he hurt that. He smacked that thing crazy. And just about knocked it silly. That's his turn. Now Zargath is going to move over closer to the goblin rogue. And he's gonna again ready his action. So on his sheet, I'm gonna hit ready, and he's gonna ready the same action as before. So if anything comes visible, he's gonna target it and annihilate it. He thinks that the creature is well in hand. Crudson's gonna follow through. This time he can qualify for a sneak attack. So again, I click on Crudson, then I hold down the Alt key, or the Control key. I click on the target. Bring up Crudson's sheet. I'm going to go ahead and double click on the attack roll. And he made it. And now he can apply a sneak attack. Okay, sneak attack. Sneak attack, apply it, and now roll damage. Youch! So this thing is basically dead. However, it has its death thing. So this guy is going to have to make a save. So this thing here, it's the ice method. Okay, so here's the save for the death burst. He succeeded. So he kind of dives down and kind of hits the deck, but he only takes half damage, so it's not too bad. So this guy is gone, basically. Alright, so now it's just a snow golem that's still trying to get up. So he takes his turn to get up. That's about all he can do. But he does see Kroglor. So let me double check. He has a ability that is a snowball ranged attack. So he's going to throw a big heavy ice pellet at him. So again, I'm going to make him visible. And then I'm going to target Kroglor. So I click on my token first. Hold down the control key and click on the target. So he gets up and he throws the snowball. Maybe he was making the snowball while he's on the ground. Can't really move because he's pretty much just got up. And he is going to throw that snowball. He missed, so that's his turn. Okay. Skip Kroglor's turn. Alright, so Kroglor is going to handle this, so he's going to use his second wind. So any damage he had, he should be healed now. Yep, he's fully healed. He's done with that. Half-orcs have relentless endurance, so if he dies, I can add a healing point, and then he uses that relentless endurance. He's going to move forward and engage this creature. And he's going to use his great axe. And he hit, which is awesome. And he's going to... Oh, the reason... Well, he would have got it anyhow. But I have to remove the prone off of the creature. So to do that, I go to this little wand effect here, and I'm going to remove the prone condition. Alright, so that's that. And he's going to go ahead and attack the Golem. And since Zargath has held his turn, and he didn't move his entire thing, so he still has 10 feet of movement. He can move over and attack the Snow Golem in a sense. But I'm not going to go that extreme. So that takes care of the hit. So now for the damage. So the Snow Golem resisted it, but he did take some damage. So he took a big chunk out of him. And now Zargath is actual turn. So he's going to move over here. And he's going to make this firebolt attack. So he winds up. Wow, he gets a hit off of it. And whoa, the damage is, he's vulnerable to fire, so ouch. So this guy's taking a little bit of damage. Luckily he didn't roll very high. So now it's his turn. Crudson. Alright, so Crudson is going to move up. He's going to do the hide action. And he wants to use that as a bonus action. And then he is going to hide, which can be a bonus or a regular action. And he wants to set up for the sneak attack. So he's going to take out his rapier, or maybe a short bow. And then if the guy comes through here, he's going to try to sneak attack him. So he is basically calling a ready action. So he's basically getting ready to shoot the Golem if he comes through. Morena sees what's going on. She moves up a little bit. She's going to try to shoot through Groglor. So I'm going to bring up her sheet. I'm going to hold down, I'm going to click on her token. I'm going to click on her token, hold down the Alt key, and basically target the Snow Golem with a control key. And now I'm going to add the -2 because she has to kind of shoot through her ally, her friend. And now I'm going to make the attack roll. So that's right here. So that's 2 hands. So double click the attack. And she hit. And it only did a little bit of damage because it resisted. But still, they're chipping away at it. So that's not too bad. Huh. So it did 0 damage on that one. Alright. So now it's a Snow Golem. So it's fighting the Groglor. And it has a slam attack. It gets 2 of them. Oh, excuse me, 3. Yikes. Missed. So both of those hits were blocked by the armor that he's wearing. So it's probably getting dented a little bit. But this time, the slam hits him in a good place. Ouch, all that damage. So he's got heavy damage on him. Youch. So Zargath is going to take his next turn soon. Alright, Groglor, here's your chance. So Groglor is going to... You know what? I might have him throw a net on this thing. Yeah, he's going to throw a net. So I'm going to go ahead and he's actually too close. So I'm going to go ahead and have him just take his... actually, he's going to take the dodge action. So he's going to dodge. And then he's going to... Or actually disengage. So let me get rid of that. Disengage. And then he's just going to move away. So that's his turn, so he's getting out of there. That was a good move too. Okay, Zargath. So Zargath moves into place. And he's got a clear shot now. So he's going to cast Witch Bolt or something a little heavier. Let's see. Yeah, so he's going to do Heightened Spell. What's that do? Cast a spell to make a saving throw to resist. You can spend 3 to give the target disadvantage. Alright, so I'm going to use my sorcery points. And I'm going to use Heightened Spell. So that adds disadvantage to this guy. And then I'm using that to my, basically my firebolt here. And he hit. So now what's going to happen is the damage. Ooh. So he took 16 points of damage on that, so that hurt. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. So that creature is hurt. So Krudzin is going to hang tight and remain hidden. I might have to make another roll. Depends on what you consider important. And now Morena is going to cast her I think she's gonna put on her Dwarven Resilience. Oh, she already has it. Let's see. Sacred Flame. Yeah. Guiding Bolt. Yeah, I'm gonna do Guiding Bolt, so it's first level spell. She doesn't have anyone in her way. Nice. So she hit. And there is the effect. And here's the damage. Nice! That was the heavy damage on this creature. So this Snow Golem saw the last of his days here. Alright, so the Snow Golem again is going to move. It only moved 10 feet, so... And Krudzin here is ready with the sneak attack. So first I want to see if the Snow Golem noticed him or not. So Krudzin is a rogue. I'm going to roll his stealth roll. Oh yeah, this guy did not even notice him. So now I'm going to target. So hold control and target the creature. And I'm going to make the attack roll. And... oh, he didn't target anybody. Okay, Crudson. Where are you? Okay, he's got the snow golem. Okay. Now do the attack roll. Come on. Okay, that's a hit. And this time, sneak attack damage does apply. And he's going to double click on here. And the snow golem resisted. So it didn't really do any damage to it. But all this chips of ice flew off. So anyhow, that is how that goes. Hopefully that helps you a little bit with setting up a quick encounter. Well, it's not quick, but setting up an encounter on the fly, setting up a map on the fly, and then running a little simulation. That should be a good start for most of you game masters, so you have an idea how to get this going. Anyhow, I think I've done enough. I've gone on for a couple hours now. So you take care, and I'll see you around. Talk to you later. Bye.